Dumela, Sawubona, Sakpase, Namaste, Upshin, Dubra Otra, Assalamu alaikum, Hotep, Buenas noches, bonsoir. What's going on? Good evening, everyone. This is Doriel Inez Larrier, also known as Imani in some spaces. If you know, you know. And I am the host of the Digital Couch here at Learn to Grow You, where I plant seeds to help you grow. Tonight is an extra special double header. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. That's because I actually just had another episode about an hour and a half ago. And so this is our 2 for 2 tonight. Today, across the world, or at least in a lot of countries, it's known for some as the Day of Love. And what better way to talk about the one to whom you must give all of your love to, and that is yourself. This is actually going to be a slightly different chat. It's actually going to be a feedback chat, and what did I do over the past 3 weeks? And I'm inviting my coach onto the couch with me tonight. So please welcome Sister Kwasa.
Hey, greetings from Central America.
Greetings. So some of you might recognize this person's face. This is Sister Kwasa. She is more than just a person on my couch. She is a sister. We have walked in certain spaces for long periods of time together and done a lot of great work. And so I thought I'd bring her on tonight as part of actually like a feedback. Oh, I see my mom is in the house. Shout out, Mom. Thank you so much for being in the house, being one of my supporters all the time. So this is Sister Kwasa. We are here for it. Please make sure, folks, that you ask any questions as possible. I'll tell you the brunt of our conversation in a second. And if you want to share, that's personally fine. We're on Facebook and YouTube, and I would love for questions to come in, and I'll of course bring them up into the chat and welcome them in for the conversation. So what had happened was the beginning of the year, people usually make quote unquote like resolutions, right? I'm not necessarily the one to make a resolution, but I will make a shift. Even if it is a slight shift, I will make shifts. And these are not one-offs. These are tiny, tiny things. I usually say do one thing. Do one thing. Add one thing to what you do that's a step in the right direction. We're not asking for like huge pendulum shifts in a day, but do one thing and add that to your protocol. Some people say 21 days to make a habit. Well, it could be a very, very tiny thing, and I decided to do a kind of like a bigger thing, but it's something that I've done before. So Sister Kwasa and I have, again, walked in certain spaces for over 28 years.
Wow.
And child, we still look the same. Well,
now I have hair, right? So that's different.
That's right. So actually, you have more hair and I have less hair.
Now,
oh my God. I didn't even think about that. That's right. My locks were like down to the hips, and yours was like, woo, short crop cut. Beautiful. And either way you look at it. And we've taken a look at health, at wellness, at food consumption, and we've grown in amazing ways. And so I invited Sister Kwasa to, this literally is going to be a feedback session or a debriefing session of a 7-day reset that we did, and I sat at her feet for that time. And so I want her to talk about it, and then I'm going to give you my honest feedback about it. So what did we do a couple weeks ago, Sister Kwasa?
Okay, so greetings. So we did a 3 and 7 day nutritional reset. So some folks did it for 3 days. Some of the folks did it for 7 days, and it's a nutritional reset. Most folks are used to fast, and we have a tendency to get really excited about doing a fast. What I found in years, I'm trained as a fasting instructor and in nutritional fasting. I found over the years, many people don't sustain and maintain over the years. Actually, I find sometimes we can even have a binge purge cycle or more of a detox to retox. We'll spend all of this money on these expensive herbal supplements, green powders, and we get excited with that initial momentary enthusiasm. I'm going to do something new, which is great. But I found over time that most people actually don't sustain. So I'm very, very curious about human performance. I'm always really excited about the process of transformation. And my eyes always feel the people that get it and sustain, what motivates them to get into action and consistent action over a period of time and maintain lifestyle changes and upgrades. And I'm also equally fascinated by our self-sabotaging behaviors, right? Having so much intellectual knowledge, having all the books, having all the powders, having shelves full of numerous juicers, exercise equipment. I've got lots of clients that have laundry hanging on their exercise equipment, juicers that they got for birthdays and wedding registries that are just growing cobwebs and storing ants. So I'm always curious about what's the process, and I'm very keen to patterns, right? I've seen some very distinct patterns working as a personal trainer and nutrition consultant about 3 decades with myself, with my family, where there's a lot of family pattern and community pattern, unfortunately, of comorbidities, right? Heart disease, diabetes, obesity. And I'm always like, what is at the root? What is that about? And then as I look at the different populations that I've worked with, Indian, Korean, Hasidic, Jewish, I work with so many different communities, traveled a lot, also as an international flight attendant. I'm always fascinated by how do some people, it's just not a thing for them. They're not preoccupied with food. Folks that get really excited about a personal movement practice, what most people call exercise, I call it a personal movement practice. I'm always fascinated. What's the missing link? What's missing? We got the information, we got the tools. What's missing? So I've been able to identify some distinct patterns. And so the nutritional reset, I'm like, with myself and my folks and my family, what is it going to take not only for us to make a shift, to get excited about it and to sustain it as a lifestyle. So I've come across some different tools and some patterns that I find really can shorten the learning curve. And I found over the years, I see some patterns of people that not only have sustained healthy eating, but without calling themselves vegan, vegetarian. I've seen consistently clients where their husbands are taking a green juice every day or eating much more salads. I've gotten emails over the years. I still get emails sometimes from older clients that said they've joined community gardens, look at the meals that my children are making. So there are some distinct patterns. I also realize just as much as there's information out there, we can't make the assumption that everybody knows about sprouts or nut milks or the distinction between sunflower sprouts or how to make almond milk or what a nut bag is. Many people just don't know, haven't been exposed. So the nutritional reset was designed to immerse people in whole, fresh, living, unprocessed food. So notice I didn't say vegan, I didn't say vegetarian, I didn't say keto, because this is something that everybody can relate to. So whatever label you would like to ascribe to yourself, at this point, I could give 2 peach pits about the label. It's really about results, right? And we don't really need one more thing to divide us, right? Food is really something that we want to bring us together, so we're not in these different camps. And if you are a mom, which is a strategist, and as I like to say, children don't buy groceries, right?
Hello.
Either I'm going on your team or y'all coming on my team. So as a strategist that really has my eyes peeled for the health and vitality and the happiness of my family, I've got to strategize how to make that happen, oftentimes tricking people into not only eating better, but also having fun with it. So as an educator, I'm sure you know that things stick when you're having fun.
That's right.
When you're engaged in the conversation, which is very tactile, when you can touch, sense, taste, I found that can really shortcut and really shorten your learning curve when you're tasting something that's new, that's delicious. Like, wow, you'll realize there are different things. Like, I didn't know that you could prepare apples all these different ways. I never knew that I can enjoy sea vegetables. So a lot of times people don't even know that I'm feeding them seaweed, or a lot of it is in the presentation and the fun and really making the education simple and comprehensive so that people are like, oh, I pull a light bulb. It's like, oh, wow, I like this. Oh, I could have been doing this the whole time. That I have found shortens the learning curve. And additionally, I know for a fact community is quite often what's missing, right? That sense of community, that feedback. So in the nutritional reset, it's a private platform so that people can feel a safe space, right? Where you don't have to feel embarrassed about your meals or what your meals look like. People are sharing pictures of their meals or asking questions. I don't know what sesame seeds are. You know, it's amazing. Some people know what sesame seeds are. Some people don't know what whole grains are, what they taste like. Some people have never seen a whole oat grown. They're like, what's an oat grown? You know, people think whole oats is just the steamed oatmeal. That's healthy oatmeal. So many of us actually have never seen the actual whole food and with its living water intact. So some people probably wonder, what the heck is she talking about living water? So there's a saying in my family, the women say, I can show you better than I can tell you. So everyone that's done the reset gets a shopping list, right? We're actually refining it even more with more of a shopping list and a menu plan to give people an idea or a structure of how to pair things. Because some people don't even know food combination or what order to eat foods. It's actually really amazing. So I found it's like an immersion, a lot of interaction, a lot of feedback, and I'm really pleased. So many people are like, wow, my elimination has really, really changed. I just had no idea that this could be fun, that it could be pleasant. So it's an immersion in community. It's an immersion in whole fresh foods because there was no packaged soy meats, no tofu. It was no processed foods. So just making the shift to, we say Whole Foods all the time, right? We got a big chain called Whole Foods. But if we were to look at most people's shopping carts, the produce might get a little section in the uppermost part of the cart. And there's still lots of packages and boxes. So that's actually a big shift for people to learn what do I do with all this produce?
Right. So let me hop in here. So for those who are just popping on, I'm so excited. We're having more people at this moment. This is body-culinary.com, body-culinary.com. Sister Kwasa actually has a really, really amazing and huge YouTube following. If you go on YouTube, you have hours, and I mean hours and hours of her growing food in her own backyard. She was in Brooklyn and she grew a garden on the fire escape. So there is no
excuses. Do that, but I did. I'm not gonna lie.
What?
I legally can't tell people to go on fire escape, but I'm not gonna. It was grow by any means necessary. I did what I felt I needed to do.
There she goes. She's done foraging. Foraging, for those who don't know, is like getting your greens and such from a park, or not a park, but sometimes a park or a garden, and just identify. Right, and identifying. And so we are from Brooklyn. Let's make that clear. We are from Brooklyn, and I'm saying it like that. And then she shifted to Belize, and so she is, to an extent, like a nomadic person, but she's on the internet street, so she's not totally nomadic. But she literally lives off the land. It is amazing to see her literally from like tiny seeds, and now having, like, I've seen you done pineapples and papaya and avocados and green leaves. It's just incredible. So what part of her work is to serve communities, thank you, Mom. I see that. My mother said it's a fire hazard. I understand, but by any means necessary, Mom. So you can have your little window box, which is great, but sometimes you may need a little extra space. I'm just saying, we're not breaking any laws here. Let's move on. But she has done everything literally from inside and out. And so I've also been a part of, what time we get up? 5 o'clock in the morning to do it was in the summertime. It was like July.
It was at some points of the year, it's a 2-hour difference. So it was whatever it was. There were times I was getting up at 2 o'clock on my end. So you guys would get up at 4. Oh, I was getting up at 2 o'clock to make sure everybody got that workout in. I'm one of those people that when I commit to doing something, that's it.
It was amazing. And so I know right now she has a couple of like short, and I mean short, so I mean like 10-minute workout videos. So if anybody's if y'all are part of my generation, then y'all remember the 20-minute workout. If anybody remembers the 20-minute workout, type it into the chat while you're watching this live on the replay. But that 20-minute workout, you're like, my goodness, how is it I'm glowing? We don't say sweat, but glowing in 20 minutes. This system right here will get you glowing in 10 minutes. 10 minutes. You don't need no serious weights. You don't need no fancy clothes. And this was at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And we were committed to this for some of us, it was like a 21-day period. It's amazing. So what happened a couple of weeks ago is she had a 7-day reset. And as she said, there was a shopping list, which was very accessible, things that you could find either at your quote unquote corner food produce market, or if you go to like a supermarket, or if you, depending on where, no matter where you live, you can find these items very accessible. But it was what the combinations of the items did that literally shifted your thinking. And most people say, and my mother's here to sort of attest, I made this quote unquote salad. And I was saying to Sister Kwasa right before, I said, some people think of a salad as like, oh, it's a side dish, right? A side dish. I said, no, in this work, right? In this work at this level, the salad is the main course if you're thinking about courses on your table, courses in a meal. But it's not just the greens, and there are some greens we won't even mention, but we don't even look at. The deeper the green, the deeper the higher the chlorophyll level, and then the more potent it is to your system. And so all those things that you may say, oh, that's a garnish. No, that's not a garnish. That's part of the main meal. And, maybe it looks like, I mean, greens are light, but the bulk of it, she said, oh my goodness, it's going to take about 4 or 5 days to eat. I said, I bet you it'll be gone by tomorrow night. And it sure enough was. But it was such amazing. It was very, very amazing to, again, and this is my sister, we've toiled in these gardens, let's say, for many years, and just to sort of sit and say, hey, let me allow you to guide me through this particular time. And so we had amazing sort of front loading, like before chats, before we even got started. We had our shopping list. We had like a day or so to go get items. And even if you didn't start on that first day, but you started on the second, no problem. She front loaded a lot. She scaffolded a lot. There were a lot of pieces of information that, even though I knew, it was just great to hear another person who walks alongside me in this work, because those people who know, I've been doing this for, also my oldest son is 20, will be 26. So I've been doing this for about 28 years.
Wow.
For many, many years, people were just like, Dorel, you really don't eat, you really don't eat meat anymore? And I was like, no. Well, don't you miss it? Actually, I don't. Well, how do you get this? I said, from eating greens, fruits, vegetables, legumes, butter. And they're like, really? Yeah. And it's in the last 4 or 5 years that people have said, okay, look, so I went to my doctor. I can't hide it anymore. They need me to, it's like either I do something or I start adding more pills onto my plate. I'm like, so those people who laughed and joked with me years ago, now they're seeing the science. And let me add the word, the data. That maybe this isn't such, and I'll use an intentional weird word, it isn't such hogwash. All pun intended. No. Yes, Mom, right? We did that. Jane Fonda, right? The 20-minute workout. And then Richard Simmons, whatever. So, I've done some of this work. Some people sat with me during my my kidney liver flush, my 5:30 a.m. wake up, which we're getting back to that. I had to shift some things around. But certain people like, well, wow, this one little thing shifted my whole countenance. Just starting at 5:30 in the morning, drinking 8 to 16 ounces of water with some other stuff. Y'all, shout out to the Claws squad who rocked with me for more than 400 days at that time in the morning. And it was a blessing just to know, shifting from consumption of this type of thing, which culturally in a society where we think this is supposed to be on the plate, to shifting the percentage, let's say the percentage, or swapping out, which is what we use in this work, swapping out the item for something that is plant, and not plant-based. We're not talking about the plant-based like patties and stuff like that. Yeah. This is a different level. So those people, we are so glad and happy and excited if you take one thing that you used to consume and you shift it little by little. Again, we're not asking anybody, we're not dictating to anybody that you give up all of your consumption practices and go, which was what Sister Kwasa does, which is like a raw food, but there's a whole phrase. But do one thing and keep shifting your cells. I always talk about cell memory. Cell memory and shifting your cells' memory, shifting what your cells do. So some people know, and let's just take smoking, and I'm not going to stay on that long. And I don't know all of the data, but let's say you stop smoking for like 2 days. There's a shift in your entire cell structure. You stop smoking for 5 or 6 days. There's a shift in your entire cell structure. It's similar when you consume food. And so during this time period, I will tell you now, listen, this conversation is not for the faint of heart. Yeah, this conversation is not for the faint of heart. So at 5:30 in the morning, people know I don't, what is it? It's not TMI. It's FYI. That was one of my phrases that I use. There is no too much information. It's for your information. So I will be transparent, and I'm sorry that I did not do it before and after, but I will tell you that there were some pants that I put on at the beginning of the week, and I was like, man, this is at the end of the week, I was like, oh, wait a minute. Wait, did somebody stretch these jeans out? Wait. But you
said you dropped a few pounds, huh?
This was only 7 days, and clearly I dropped 4 pounds.
Eating, and that's a huge distinction of the nutritional reset. Right. For many people that retox mindset, I find that rather than even just doing juicing, actually inundating the body with lots of eating calms many people down psychologically, so they don't feel like, oh my God, like you're pacified and soothing yourself and eating. That can make a lot of people freak out, like a sense of deprivation, right? Because we have a lot of emotional connection to food. It just is what it is. So it's such a huge distinction that I like to make with whole, fresh, living foods. I even prefer to distinguish whole, fresh, living foods, even over raw and vegan. Because whole, right? To speak to the behavior more than the label, right? Than the label. It's whole. So that means it's whole. You can still recognize it with its living water intact, right? It's not oxidized. I can see the package. You know, over the years, eating this way, your food bill actually will go down, and the weight of your recycled bags will go up. Because it's whole, fresh foods. Also, there's some wonderful distinctions. Your satiation level, right? There are these key things that usually throw people off. The thinking, oh, I'm not going to have anything to eat. The panic, right? That you won't have enough to eat. And then also the satiation. Even with all these delicious fake patties, the sodium is so high, it dries us out and can stimulate, all that salt can stimulate false appetite. The additional, even with the agave nectars and the maple syrups, a lot of them, for many of us, are pre-diabetic. So a lot of the added salt and sugar are implicated in diabetes, right? As well as the hardening of the arteries and also cirrhosis of the liver, which people typically think is only alcohol. But the excessive amounts of dried out starch, it really has an effect on the body. So we know that most of our body is what?
Water.
However, if most of us were really to look at most of our plates, a lot of our plates don't have any, not only does it not have water on it, right? And water in the original package, right? Which is going to help to satiate us. The water, the living water, the best filtered water on the planet inside of these fruits and vegetables, right? All this shiny, we want beautiful skin, right? But our food is all dried out. The water's been pulled out and lots of sodium has been added to it for convenience and for shelf life.
And for preservatives, right?
Yeah, it's not even, for many, it's not clicking. It's not an insult. We're moving at such a pace that the light bulbs are not going off because we're disconnected. We're not surrounded by gardens and tall apartment buildings. So it's if you don't see it, and if you're also the pace that we're moving at, many of us are not putting our hands inside the food. We're not sitting next to our grandmother and our aunties on a regular basis and learning how to work those fresh, whole ingredients.
Right. So actually, let me say this. This just popped into my head. So on Earth Day, so April 21st, which I believe, if it's not April 20th, it's April 21st, is a Monday. And on that day, I'm going to have an amazing sister. She goes by Miss Belladonna, and she is doing hydroponic labs or hydroponic growing within the home. And so no matter where you live, you literally can grow your own leaves in like these towers. And so it's amazing work. I've done some, collaborated on writing some children's books with her and Dr. Tori. And so we'll actually be having her come on the couch as well. But discussing hydroponics labs, and then there's a hydroponic gardening within your own home. And then there's a phrase that I think it was Dr. Francis Cress Welsing who said, eating out in the street is like putting someone else's hands into your stomach.
Yeah,
eating out in the street is like putting someone else's hands into your stomach. And not to say that, you shouldn't, eat out or what have you, but in our family circles, when there would be something presented to us that was something to consume, our mothers and grandmothers would be like, who kitchen that came from? Because we don't eat everybody's food.
I grew up like that. I'll even say my grandma Lou, who I speak about a lot, who was actually she wasn't a vegan or vegetarian. However, she's a big inspiration for the reason that I consume the way that I do. She was always really, really big on eat your own food. She had those old fashioned plastic bread bags. Those were her Ziplocs with the little plastic clip. Those were bread bags. So she would take me on these church bus rides. She would whip out her fish cakes and her bakes and coconut bread and tea and things. So the idea of eat your own food, in addition to sitting next to her when I came to the house, she'd take off your shoes and wash your hands and say goodnight. And if she's grating coconut, I would grate coconut. If she was picking the stones out of peas, that's what I did. When she was chopping up her seasoning. So that's a huge memory for me. So there's a lot of wisdom, a lot that was transmitted during that time when I sat at the table. So one of the biggest principles, she has a lot of guiding principles that I don't even think that she realized that she passed on to me. One of them is eat your own food. So over the years, I'm like, if it ain't in the bag, don't ask. And then also I know I'm mom. I don't have $1 million campaign like Mickey D's. I can be doing all this great stuff, and I have my son at home, and I made all this food from scratch. And by the time my child crosses the threshold, all of these campaigns are trying to lure him in to eat their little box so-and-so meals and so on. So I know as a strategist, they got $1 billion campaign and I'm mom. I'm like, I can't let these cats outdo me. So that I'm very strategic. That has meant me making all kinds of delicious pies, cakes every year on my son's birthday. It was like, I got to outdo the last year when my son was like, oh my, this cake is the bomb. It's the bomb. Everybody wants a slice or wants to eat a whole cake. My carrot cakes, my chocolate cakes. It's actually fun for me. And it's always a challenge to feed the hardest cases. Those people that really drink beer, smoke cigarettes, eat pork rinds and stuff like that. I'll go to barbecues and I'll come bringing a delicious fruit tart and serve it up. That sucker will be going. And people ask me, baby girl, where you get that thing from? Let me get a piece of cake. Where you get that green stuff? Well, my brother's saying, ooh, wow, yo, I feel so good. I was going to the bathroom, everything. What's that thing you gave? They were eating seafood. It wasn't even stuff with the dehydrator that I was giving them. I wasn't even giving them dehydrated. So for me, it's an art. And I would even say that I really feel like I'm channeling. I knew both of my great grandmothers were in their 90s and my grandma Lou was in her 90s. Those three in their 90s were rocking their own hair and their own skin, vibrant skin. My one Southern grandma, though, that drank diet soda, regular soda, and switched to diet soda, she became morbidly obese. Her feet were bursting open from diabetes. We used to have to get her insulin. So even though I didn't know the word obese, I was like, she's not fat. She's just grandma. But I watched those patterns. I also watch a lot of our feeding ourselves, those habits and Sunday dinners leave with the death of those matriarchs, with the transitioning of those matriarchs.
So I wanted to touch on one thing, and people have seen and heard me say this very often, and you brought it up momentarily. I've done some, I call it like hashtag juicing with Dorielle, and it's me waking up on Saturday morning, and a sister friend of ours who we know would say, this is Musco Day. So I'm referring to Jana from the co-op.
Oh, okay.
And one day I was like, Jana, what is Musco? And she said, everything in the refrigerator must go. I was like, I'm going to use that. And so it was almost like my Musco Day. And so whatever was in the refrigerator got juiced. And so I turned this into like, oh, okay, well, listen, y'all just going to watch me juice. And I said time and time again, for me, juicing and this type of food prep is very therapeutic. And there is definite science behind keep, like your grandma Lou said, eat your own food. For me, I prefer to spend the time doing the preparation because psychologically, I know how I want my bell peppers cut up. I know how thin I want my kale, deveined and sliced because it's a very thick thing. I know that I don't like raw onions, but I can do scallions and leeks. And so when people ask me to like make a salad at church, and I've made it for 200 people easily, but when people see me in the back of the kitchen and they're like, "Oh, let me go help you, Doriel," my mother be like, "Don't do that. Don't. It's not gonna work very well for you."
It's a meditation. Actually,
Because
sacred
it's a
time.
it's a meditation.
Again, if you look at if I look at the patterns of people who get results and maintain and sustain when it comes to their food, eating healthy, upgrading their food, and also their movement practice, there's a difference in the mindset. I speak about mindset a lot. Some people are like, that's a drag. Oh, I don't have time. Like, dang, I gotta cut up all this stuff. I gotta wash all this stuff. And then other folks are like excited. Sometimes, I like to think I'm playing in food, or I can put music on, African music or soul music. I could put Hal Jackson or Soul Sundays or whatever. Put that on, jam into classics. Sometimes I'm just in the quiet listening to the birds, and it's very, very therapeutic and relaxing. After a while, you can just get lost in it. Actually, I find it extremely relaxing. And through putting your hands in the soil and putting your hands in the food, there is information that you don't have access to if you're not engaged in the process. And in this day and time of so much information, we're top heavy, we're very intellectual, yet there's still a disconnect because we're not putting our hands in the food. For example, a really good example is when I'm working with fresh avocado, I make fresh coconut cream and fresh milks. You'll notice when you're working with those whole fresh fats, right, that still have, it's not 100% oil. It still has some carbohydrate and some fiber and water, avocado and the coconut. When I go to wash away, I don't really need dish liquid because it's not greasy.
Right.
If you're working oil, even though it's coming from the health food store, even though it's cold pressed, you're getting 100% of these concentrated calories. I can have this whole big thing that has the same with the water and the fiber and its chew and its satiation, as opposed to a tablespoon of oil. So although it's in the health food store, some people might get upset if I call it recreational foods. It's still not the whole food. So that's actually a huge disconnect. So those are the types of paradigm shifts that as you're working with your food and you're seeing other people share their food in the reset and the private platform, it's giving you paradigm shifts. And then also to seal the deal, when you can taste it, one of the feedbacks I got from most people is like, oh my gosh. Like they were waiting for me to tell them to buy all the powders and the pills. Right. It's like, I never knew it could be this simple. They were waiting for me to tell them a $50 powder here, this vitamins. And I'm like, literally at Genesis 1:29, the fruit, every fruit bearing seed to you shall be for meat. All the plants, literally, you get to have the actual experience. That's what's missing. The experience that the food is the medicine.
Somebody type in Genesis 1:29. Where's my stream team? My stream team knows, because I come from a church background. That's a whole other conversation. We grew up, the Bible, this, that, and the other. And I was like, it says right in the beginning, Genesis 1:29.
How we skip over that?
Right, how we skip over that? I'm just saying, those people who are just popping in, we're actually going to start to wrap up. But this is Kwasa from body-culinary.com, bodyculinary.com. I just went through a 7-day reset about maybe 2-3 weeks ago right now. Let me just tell you, I have about 7 different glass jar containers of all the little like, and I don't want to say sauces and powders. I don't want to say it like that, but natural.
I call them elixirs.
Elixirs. Oh my goodness. Certain tastes you didn't even think of. I'm going to mention 2. The raisin ginger. I can't even explain
how people don't. My son said, "Mommy," he He said, Mommy, I don't think people understand how you're eating. He said this to me years ago. He said, I don't think they understand. People may think I'm sitting around eating an apple, but when I tell you, first of all, think about it. Our great-great-grandmothers, a lot of times, they couldn't shop with other people. So if they had a little something growing in their yard, you think they didn't call it organic. It was no intermittent fasting. When it's dark, go to bed. And whatever they had growing in that yard, if they had a little worm on it, it was organic. They cut that piece off. If it takes you 3 to 4 months to grow something, you won't be throwing that stuff in the garbage, and you
That's
won't
right.
be because you're connected. You really get the time, the effort, the weeding that goes into growing it, which is why I'm the personal trainer to encourage everybody to start some kind of a garden. So it is literally here holistic, but we're not in the process. The process is fun, it's engaging, and the light bulbs that go off is what is key to sustaining you, as well as being able to interact with people and have fun. If I come over to your house right now, my roller skates, my double Dutch rope, we're playing the food, it's a no-brainer. It was just a no-brainer. So that's that sense of community, and community coming together around a purpose. You're coming together not just to chit-chat. We're coming together to actually do something for activities, which is how I like to come together with people.
So I definitely want to draw people, as I really want more people, of course, to come on board, right? To come into what do we used to call it? Our healing laboratory, right? Our kitchen, our healing laboratory is our kitchen. And we learned from some really, really great people, some really, really great women. Really great women who have amazing ideas, amazing platforms, but we took that which we received and we turned it into our own. So for Sister Kwasa, she has, again, an amazing YouTube channel, and she's done a lot of work about gardening, about just like natural self-care, about like shopping in the produce market. And listen, I was watching her every Saturday and I'd like to say, Rona, those of you who know, during Rona, going to the produce market in Belize where she is and getting like a case of coconut or like a case of like things. And you're just like, well, girl, what you gonna do with all that? Right. And you gonna eat all that in a week or like 2 weeks? That's a lot, but not the way she does it. So I really want people to hop onto her page, to stay connected with her. I know she's on Instagram, and I know she's on YouTube. If you just go and subscribe, you will see the plethora, and I mean the plethora of amazing information, growing a garden, self-care, and what I did, which was a 7-day reset. And I really look forward to the next reset. Now, we'll say
the 21st, coming up this month, is going to be the next reset. That's going to be the next one coming up February 21st.
Beautiful.
3 or 7 days. I put lots of information actually on my Body Culinary YouTube channel, because I was thinking, before I leave the United States, I have nieces, I have family members, cousins. I want to make sure I didn't leave them hanging. So I left a trail of breadcrumbs there for them. I was very intentional of leaving a trail. So should you at any point you get turned on, you can look at, I left a whole trail of information. And the 3 lifestyle practices that I said I encourage is 3. I call it Afro flower practices. Welcome and open to anyone of any culture, but I'm very intentional about putting my culture on the map and giving it its due, credence. It's 3. That is peaceful consumption. What that looks like for me is consumption based on fruits, vegetables, seeds, nuts, legumes, sprouts, right? Peaceful, and food that's peaceful to your arteries, peaceful to your colon, peaceful to your skin, peaceful to your mood, investing in your vitality and your longevity, right? Number 2 is a personal movement practice. That might be a combination of yoga, strength, but a personal movement practice that addresses whatever if you have back issues, injuries, so you can learn some basic comprehension to keep yourself safe. And so you have a practice that grows with you until your hair is white. And then the other practice is garden therapy. It's extremely therapeutic. Even if you're in a small studio, everybody can grow something, at least 2 plants, something beautiful to rest your eyes on, green, and something that you grow actually to eat, even if that's 1 herb. So those are the lifestyle practices that I think that we all actually have access to. It's something that is within our reach. I say it is our culture. And I really have a vision of just seeing millions of women around the world, Afro women. All the things we need to luxuriate our hair and skin is coming from yard, and we're sharing it with each other. That we're moving, have a movement practice for that stress release, right? That physiological release and an internal shot of feel-good drugs, that we're able to access that wherever we're paying rent or mortgage, right? And that we're all growing something. So I'm calling this our culture. I call it Afro flower culture. That's what I'm dubbing it. And it's our heritage. So I'm really about reactivating the ways of the mothers and the grandmothers. So you can look forward to a full immersion in whole, fresh, living, unprocessed foods that still have the living water intact. This is the water that our cells can recognize, right, at a cellular level. So
Yes, whole, fresh, living foods. Actually, I have to put whole, fresh, living, unprocessed, right?
Unprocessed. If there's going to be any processing, it'll be minimal. You'll do it yourself. So you know what's in your food. I can tell you as a chef that's working one of the top restaurants, a lot of reasons the food is tasty is because of some things that's happened to that food that you can't see. Which your cells know the difference. Your skin, your colon, your brain knows the difference. All the food you're eating is a set of instructions with a lock and key that's having certain genes turn on and express, right? Maybe the ones that are not so positive, and there's some that go dormant. So depending on whatever the fluid of that living water, which is why I say living water so much, is bathed in, those are instructions to your cells. It's not personal. Whatever instructions you're giving them, that's what our body is going to respond to.
So I want people definitely follow Sister Kwasa on bodyculinary.com. If you just type in body-culinary.com, you're going to see it pop up all over the internet. This is lecture. Like this is school. This is instruction. This is there. Some people respond to reading a book. I mean, I have certain books that I've had on my shelves for eons. And then I've gone to many lectures and I've sat in many classes. And even like Kwasa and I, we can go, I don't want to say back and forth, but we can go at it in a beautiful, healthy conversation for hours because we've done it. But we've also been trained to sit and hear the DNA of the thing. And most people don't talk about that. And this is almost, and I'm being judicious to myself. This is like my nerdy moment. I love this. I love these conversations. I love them. I love talking about food. Most of my friends are like, it's just kale. I'm like, nah, that's two things. How many ways can you do kale? Right. But this is where I thrive. And I'm just so glad to have been able to sit under or sit next to or sit at her feet for a moment. And I didn't have to do almost, not that I have to do any thinking, but she guided my food choices for that week. She guided my consumption for that week. She guided and facilitated how we looked at the food choices and how much and what time. And it was great. I didn't have to work so much, but I knew the work. So for me and the other people in the class, because I've been on this path with her for a number of years, for other people, they were at different levels of food consumption and of food choices and lifestyle. They were like, wow, I gotta give up that. You're swapping out, you're switching, you're leveling up. For me, it was just like, okay, hey, remember that. Okay, do it. But now here's an extra little twist to add into what you do. So for those people who are
somebody that's right now, she's continuing on. She's like, and she's very new. It's a lot of stuff like, wow. She's constantly like, wow, this is actually fun. Right? So I found it's a big distinction with the play, the community, the pictures, the feedback. I think take away a lot of being so intellectual. You can put your hands in and play. I find that people have a whole nother experience, and it can really go a long way to shorten your learning curve when you're playing and you're having an experience rather than just reading the book. So going to the market, understanding. Some people don't know how to pick the food or don't know the food per pound. So some people may take it for granted. But I definitely find people are having more fun. When I hit, and I'm listening all the time, I'm listening to people talk about their elimination. I'm listening to people like, wow, I never would have thought of that. That is the ticket. That is definitely the ticket.
And I want people to get the ticket. So, hopefully if you don't see Sister Kwasa at a 3 or 7 day reset, y'all can slide over into me. But let me tell you something. Let me just give you the tea real quick. If you want freshman level support, you could chill with me in the Claw Squad. When you're ready to go hard and like go strong, you go over to Body Culinary. And I have to say that because again, some people are like, can you just tiptoe with me? Kwasa gonna run you. She gonna run. You have to be like ready. And some people, interestingly enough, some people, you could say your doctor says it every year. Drink more water, add more fruits and vegetables, or natural sugars or what have you. Lower the processed food. They tell you that all the time. They do. It's very interesting that people will then go out, hear the real stuff, and then go buy. I want to say and I'm saying this gently, like the cheap products, the protein powders. Don't let me get started on my powders and pills over produce conversation. That's a whole lecture I did on Clubhouse the other day.
Well, before I forget, you just made me think, right? So what my son said, he said, "Mommy, people don't realize how you're eating." Years ago, when I first came to Central America, I thought about all the questions that people would ask me, and I remember throwing out a whole goo-gad of when I was downsizing to leave. I threw away so many supplements. I was like, I don't need them. A lot of them were really expensive. I had to travel light. And so I wrote a book that answered all the questions that people would ask me. I took pictures of me shopping for $5, $10, $20, going to the wholesaler, going to the bulk section.
And what's the name of the book?
It's called Whole Living Foods in the Hood.
I'm going to type that in.
With menus to fit your budget. Whole Living Foods in the Hood. It was my just love letter to all of those, my nieces and my nephews, those young people that it's their first time managing their budget with their own money, or people really endeavoring to I want to change, or men saying, I don't think I can get full on fruits and vegetables. I don't think I can get satisfied. So it's a paradigm shift, but the pictures and me taking you into the kitchen and into the market to show you exactly, here's what I'm carrying for lunch. Here's what I'm packing for my family. All of these 12, 13 years, I put it in pictures, and I thought of all the shortcuts as a mom, somebody with a family, somebody that would be bringing treats all the time to my clients. My clients weren't even vegan and vegetarian. All of them wound up getting Vitamixes and juicers, and they were like, wow, my husband's eating more vegetables. So I saw a distinct pattern as the way that it was presented to them. So that book, Whole Living Foods in the Hood with Menus to Fit Your Budget, is like a guide. And I also give you the mindset. That's the shortcut. It was how did I was a junk food junkie, and I used to have so much acne. I was a junk food junkie. Then I became a health food junkie, eating substances masquerading as food. So I've gone a whole gamut. I love to eat. So I had to find a way to eat that was sustainable.
Right. But that was the journey. And so that's why I'm saying certain people need the first steps. I love it.
I'm sorry. It's not on Amazon. It's actually on gumroad.com.
Oh, okay. Let me take that down.
On Gumroad. So if you go to Gumroad, you can find it to gumroad.com.
Okay.
Yeah, you can find it on gumroad.com.
Okay, so we'll correct that. So let me just try to type that in. So I do want to, again, I want certain people are ready for different things at different times. And those people who hear towards the end, thank you very much to Sister Kwasa from bodyculinary.com. You can find her all over the YouTube streets. Just go and subscribe. Even if you don't watch every day, but when you do watch, you're like, oh, really? And if you don't believe it, not a problem. Of course, y'all can DM me and chat about my experience, which I will be doing again. And if you want to do it, that's perfectly fine. We could do it together and live life in a leveled up fashion, definitely together. And she's, of course, also open for consultations and chats. And I love the fact that you can also just say, hey, with your phone, look, I'm in a grocery store. What is that? What do you do with it? You got a recipe for it? Or just not just give me the recipe, but teach me and show me and walk me through how to cut it, how to lay it out. You have to see her work.
Yeah, that's very good. And in the early mornings, usually around, it's like a 40-minute hit it and quit it workout. I call it Flower Fit. We get together it's comprehensive. You don't even need any equipment. You just need to bring your own body weight. And you learn how to exercise efficiently from your own home. that goes with the movement practice. The movement practice is what's moving all that good nutrition around to your scalp and pumping your lymphatic system, massaging your internal organs. So they go together as part of the lifestyle.
Right. And last note is that growing up, we're not, and I'm going to be kind of graphic about this. Again, this is not TMI, this is FYI. We're not taught to support ourselves naturally to move things from the beginning of the digestive tract. I'm being tactful here through the other part of the digestive tract. And something that Kwasa and I learned back in the day from one of our mentors is that you literally can take your hands, and I have to stand for this, so I'm going to tilt this up here, and sort of massage, in order to move things through. And it's a mind shift. Some people are just like, oh, just take some drink this juice or have this powder. Before there was all of that, we had our hands to prepare the things to consume, and then to prepare our bodies to move things through. And that's just part of the mind shift. Now you can go find it in a book, that's fine. But sometimes it's helpful to sit with someone to facilitate and guide you through there whenever we're on a platform that is very private and safe. It's not the typical platforms. And so infiltrators, it's very, very difficult for them to get in. And so you have the safe space so you can ask these questions. So I'm going to wrap up at this point, but please, bodyculinary.com, bodyculinary.com, and please check out Sister Kwasa, who is just
Instagram, Body Culinary on YouTube. And actually, I'm on TikTok now as Kwasa with a K, Kwasa Peaceful, like full belly eating, Kwasa Peaceful Eating on TikTok. So those are
Woo! All right. Peace and blessings. As I say, this is a Learn to Grow You moment where I plant seeds to help you grow. And welcome to the Digital Couch. This is season 2, episode 8. We're not even through the second month of the year, and we are already at episode 8. I love it. Looking forward to seeing you all back next Monday for our next episode. And again, if you have any questions or comments, if you're watching this on the replay, drop them in the comments, and then Sister Kwasa and I will see them and we can respond to them. But I love you all, and I want you to live a life better tomorrow than you did today and than you did yesterday. Have a good night.
Take care.